All right.
Let me just make the introductions. Good morning. It's 9:03, Thursday, May 25th, 2017. This is a continuation of the 2017-18 Curry County Budget Committee meetings. And we have, to my left, we have the Budget Officer, Kallstrom, Commissioner Gold, myself, Commissioner Huxley. To my right, Commissioner Boyce. And we'll turn it over to the committee chair, Tom Brand.
All right, there's been a request to read a letter. Commissioner Boyce, floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a effort for clarification here in the commissioner's assigned vehicle. Something I didn't understand. The commissioner, let me read this and I'll submit it into the record, but we can discuss. Hopefully it wouldn't take very long if necessary to discuss. The commissioner travel package has been cut by approximately 3/4 between this fiscal year and next fiscal year. I supported that.
Sure
Yesterday was accused of being resistant. Regarding an assigned commissioner vehicle, and in initial discussions, I think was the 16th or the 17th budget committee meetings we had, nothing was referenced. Did I miss that? It was thrown in last Friday, no commissioner assigned vehicle. Let me make sure I understand. Neither of my fellow commissioners are willing or able to take the part of important county work requiring travel, okay? I'm asking, something a county administrator cannot do and the people expect us to do.
Just to let you know, can I answer that? I've already been on several trips in my own car, no cost to the county.
And I appreciate that, and I've used my personal vehicle several times, have not
Okay.
turned in mileage, and I think I've expressed to the board that I have been very sensitive to the cost involved and yet fulfill my obligations and responsibilities. So thank you, Commissioner Gold. Now, if I understand, you will allow me to travel on occasion using my personal vehicle with expenses to be paid out of my now reduced salary, or maybe my retirement, or you want me to disregard at least portions of those travel and important meeting responsibilities. It can be argued that there's at least an appearance that this board feels a need to have control over me there. I've gone 7 months, and I think I have reported well, been very mindful of the cost involved, and yeah, I think the record's pretty clear on that. Other than county council, and as we went through each specific department budget, am I the only elected official or department head to face travel reductions between the 2 years? I believe I'm fighting for the best interest of the Curry citizens. However, that being said, where did the notion come from that suggests I've been resistant to a county travel policy? Thank you. So I'm going to submit that. So is there going to be no assigned vehicle?
Commissioner Huxley.
I have no idea what that was all about.
Oh, of course.
Okay,
Commissioner Boyce,
can I, before this gets
so
started, if
confused.
this isn't a strictly budget,
Yeah.
would you be offended if we said that could be something you could do at a commissioners meeting as opposed to where we're going to be allocating dollars? Yes.
I look at the column that we were given this morning under approved by budget committee. And in the commissioner's budget, under assigned vehicles, there's $1,895.
It was reduced.
It was reduced.
proportionally.
It wasn't eliminated.
But that was said last Friday. You did hear that, I'm sure.
No,
So-
I didn't hear anyone say it was eliminated.
Not that.
I heard people say that we reduced that to 4,500 and the reduction would be pro rata across
I'll go back
all
and
of the
research.
items.
I'd love to be corrected on that. I've specifically heard Commissioner Gold say no assigned vehicle.
No, I don't recall that,
Okay.
to be
recall
honest.
that either.
So what would the 1,800 involve in the interest of budget discussions here?
The what?
Pardon me?
What would the what?
Did you say 1,890, Mr. King?
1,800, and I understand that the budget is charged so much per mile. I don't think there's enough there for a commissioner to have a assigned vehicle 24/7. And I think in the past, we've had
Strictly for-
commissioners take county vehicles and essentially keep them 24/7.
Okay, all right. But I've certainly not done that, not even close. So I respect that that is your position, and that is also my position. I just need a clarification on what the restrictions will be so I can honor those. If today isn't the right time, then tell me when and how we can get that resolved.
I believe your commissioners have on your agenda for the future an item to adopt a policy on commissioners' travel. And I assume that's the time to discuss how that $1,895 would be spent starting July 1st.
Maybe that's,
Counselor Huddle, please.
thanks, Mr. Chair. Right, and so the board will be considering a travel policy. So this group allocates the funds, and then how those funds are spent is a future decision by either the board or whatever department funds were allocated to based on our contract rules or other internal policies. So the details of the restrictions and the allowances for spending will be by the board during the travel policy consideration.
So we do have two figures, 1890 and 4500 for travel expenses.
4,500 total was, the reduction was spread between all 4 of the different, categories for travel, one of them being assigned vehicles.
So the total is 4500.
Total is 4,500 between all of them.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
So I did hear it correct, I think.
I got
I
one.
got the same, two of the same. So.
Tax collection.
I have two
So
different.
one, I guess there's
I have
two
two.
more.
Two of these.
So one
I got
goes to
two
John
tax
Jesuit.
collections as
There's
well.
one on the assessor's office and one
Yes.
on the tax collection. So two, you got 2 of each. I hope I passed, that's what I passed on to you. Yeah, I've got one tax collection, one assessor's office.
Ms. Kallstrom, would you mind, and with the approval of the board here, just walking us through now what you've just presented us, or what you think are the salient parts that we need to move on? Is there
Okay.
any reason why we shouldn't proceed that way? Is that?
Is there anything? Okay. What I just handed out was, in yesterday's board meeting, the county assessor was presenting some changes to the CAFA grant application. And one of the changes was that they wanted to see 10% of his salary in tax collections instead of 100% in assessor's office. So what I'd like to do is to amend the what we have approved so far on the budget to have 10% of the assessor's salary be in tax collections, and the column here that says new and approved on both the assessors and tax collection sheets would be what would be put into the approved column on the budget if you approve this.
If I remember right from what you said yesterday, the net effect is 0 on the total budget.
Yeah, it's just taking, the dollar amount of the total budget stays the same. It's just taking his salary and moving it from one department to another, a portion of it in the general fund.
Now, I remember, and that's just to reflect more closely how much time you spend between the two efforts.
I would assume it's what the CAFA grant was sent in, I believe, and it came back with some requested revisions to his application, and that was the one that would affect our budget.
Any other questions on what and why this request is presented now?
What was the last part of your question?
Any questions or any discussion on what's been requested, that we move money and why we're doing it? Any questions on that? Are we ready to vote to approve this?
Well, we got this 5 minutes ago.
No, it's just the part that I handed out, Commissioner Huxley.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, just this
Yes,
part?
just this,
Okay,
with
just
that-
part.
remember when Jim Cohen was
Yes.
speaking and there was that discussion with Ms.
Sure.
Kallstrom and
He also
Jim
brought it
Cohen.
to the Board of Commissioners yesterday, I believe.
That's what
Yes,
I'm
that's
saying.
what I'm referring to, that when that, during that discussion, he just said, well, we got this little thing, and you also mentioned at that time, it makes no real difference in
Okay.
the budget in total dollars, or, some of the hot button issues for us, they're not affected, it's just the allocating.
Yes, I felt if we're putting in an application for the CAFA grant and said that that's what we were doing, it should be reflected in the budget.
I'll make a motion to approve this as written.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? Hand vote, all in favor? Aye. Mr. Jesuit, it's unanimous. So for future discussions this morning, these sheets you gave us, they can be set aside now, is that correct?
Yeah, these are, I just wanted to have some direction on changing the budget from what I've just handed out to you.
So we're back with, how are we
We're
going to proceed? Would you,
Did you want me to go, just start going down through department by department and telling you what changes I made?
that's fine with me, how about the sense of the group here? Are we happy with that?
I think that's good.
All right, thank you.
I'd be happier just believing that you did it.
I would too, actually. I agree.
Well, it kind of helps if you're looking through it to point out what happened.
So, is that to mean that you're going to go through just quickly department by department?
Yeah, I'm just
by
gonna
the
go
book,
by the book.
document that we just
Yeah.
received?
Yeah, I think that's respecting the issue of we want to really know what happened, and that's good. That's cool. So,
Okay, so our first one is the Board of Property Tax Appeals. And, okay, let's move.
if anybody has a page number for Mr. Jesuit, that would be good to.
Page, starting detail on page 8.
What was that again? I'm sorry.
Sure. Hey, hang just a second.
It's just small, it's on page 2.
I'm sorry, it skipped down when I wasn't expecting.
Before I have a page number, on page 2.
Page,
two.
yeah.
No, I'm just talking about something else. The general fund lists the departments out, and the planning didn't make, I don't see planning on that list. Minor point, but
On page,
2, yeah, right there.
okay, I'll note that for Sina.
Okay.
Nice.
There needs to be planning, is that what it was?
Yeah, the planning, the general fund departments. Okay,
Should that be planning/economic development?
no.
Okay.
Planning, community development, building, and economic development are 3 different departments.
Good to know.
Okay, just saying. Okay. Okay, so the first one is the Board of Property Tax Appeals, and it's page 5. So what's changed here is that there was a couple of changes that I made for payroll. When I was going through and taking out the unemployment capital projects line, I found that some of my department heads had typed over in the worksheet, it links to the payroll page. It says equals this line in a payroll page, and they typed over it a number. So I had to correct that, and so what was wrong was this dollar, they put 8 in, over here, they typed over the 1616 and put 88. So I had, when I connected to the line, it should have been 16. So that, it should have, you should have seen a 0 here and an 8 here. If all I did was take that line item out. But I had to recalculate this line item, line 12, because it was typed over and wasn't connecting correctly to the payroll spreadsheet. Other than that, I changed all of the admin fees, starting line 20 through 25, changed because of all the changes in admin fees that we did. And I think that's all. There. So most of these comments will be change the unemployment capital projects line, change the admin fees.
So question, that little box thing
This?
off to the side, that's what it was originally, and then?
No, that's this box line is connecting to the sheet in the spreadsheet that's the calculation sheet for admin fees.
Mhm.
So that when I input them, I'm seeing that I'm putting in the amount that's in the calculation spreadsheet. It's just saying equals that line in the calculation sheet. So if I put in, if I was typing along and I put in 62 here and it says 82 here, I could see that I've made a mistake immediately.
Oh, okay, so it's
It's just it's
kind of a
just-
convenience thing for you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, next section is non-departmental. So on page 7, the change was there's a transfer from airport operations of $8,347,
Which line?
line 33. And that was bringing over, in airport operations, there was $10,347 in the budget, and we reduced that to $2,000 and moved the $8,347 to the general fund. Line 40 on that page. I don't have that calculation in front of me, but that's the net change to the beginning fund balance from the changes that we made.
Yeah, and that 127 for unemployment's there too.
Oh, yes, and we moved the $127,000 from the unemployment self-insurance reserve.
So that's the 0.75%.
No, that's the, there was like a 250,000 or something in unemployment reserved, and we just used
Oh,
some of the
okay.
money.
Okay.
Okay? So the only change here is we reduced the other materials and services from 100,000 to 60,000.
Where was that, please?
Line 18,
On what page?
page 8. Any questions?
A question, what was the specific reason for, item that we allocated to that? I don't remember.
We were going to take $40,000 out of the $100,000 and put it to the survey, professional fees for survey.
Mhm.
And then the committee said they didn't want to spend that $40,000, but they still reduced this line item by the $40,000.
Okay, so we did, I just didn't recall still reducing it. I thought we put it back in.
No.
But you didn't like it.
Sorry?
You didn't like that part. So that was, you
No,
wanted.
no, I'm just questioning, I remember clearly there was a vote to change the approval of the 40 for the study, but then I didn't recall, then I thought, I guess in my mind that the 40 went back in and we still moved forward with 100. I didn't recall that we.
I did specifically make it clear that
pulled up
we
the
were,
40.
whether you were putting the 40 back in or not, and it was not.
And so the 40 went into.
Nothing. It went toward the ending
Just
fund.
general fund.
Yeah, towards the road fund.
Yeah, it
Okay,
just, yeah.
okay. Okay,
It was just part of the reductions,
okay.
okay? The next one is the clerk elections, page 10. The change here is the capital improvement projects, unemployment line 17. Page 11, the lines 20 through 26, once again, are all the admin fees that were changed. The next department is county treasurer, page 13. There's no change in this because as an elected official, elected officials don't have unemployment at all, so there's nothing, no change there. Page 14, lines 3 through 9, admin fees that were changed.
And those significant increases for the Board of Commissioners, that's the result of,
It's a significant increase in the BOC office and a reduction in commissioners because of the change, moving the dollars over to the BOC for the county manager. Okay, the next department is the county assessor tax collection. And starts on page 17. The change is line 16, the second line 16.
Should have called them 16A and 16B.
16A and 16B. And this one will also be changed according to the handout that I gave you this morning. It'll look, it'll have the different numbers. In elected, it'll have the 10%, and then some of these down here will change for the percentage of the payroll costs associated with that 10% salary. Page 18, lines 24 through 30, admin fees changed.
Excuse me, what was that line again?
It's
24?
24 through 30,
Thank you.
where the little box is.
Yeah.
All those lines over in the approved column are different.
Oh, so every time you do admin fees, you do the little box.
Well, the little
Okay.
box in each place is linking to, let me see,
You don't have to explain further.
right after, right here, see this chart?
Oh, yeah.
So here is linking to here, 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 here. It's
I'm surprised
linking-
you're not crazy yet.
I am not crazy yet.
Trying to be on guard for that. All of
No, this is pretty amazing. Go through all this.
Okay, so, and then that was it. Did I skip it?
Nothing on 19.
On page 17, 18. Okay. Huh.
There is one change on.
I'm just thought that there should have been a title page here for county assessor, but I guess not. I guess it's both of the offices. This is page 19, and this is the county assessor. The change is the line 21. And once again, this one will have 90% instead of 100% of the elected salary, and then the associated payroll costs will change a little bit according to the handout this morning. Page 20, the change was lines, I'm trying to read across, lines 22 through 28, admin fees. And next department is GIS, page 22, lines 28 through 34, admin fees.
Boy, that affected just about everything, didn't it?
Didn't I say that?
You did.
I know, I'm just looking at the little
You made
boxes.
that very clear. And we're appreciative of this minutia
Well,
that
if you need the change, you need the change, but it did change it. The next section is District Attorney's Office. And page 24. So there's the change here on line 16 for the unemployment capital projects. There's a change on line 23. There are several handouts, one that got revised, kind of balancing the district attorney and the CAMI grant. So this is one of the, this is the transfer to the CAMI grant. It has more to do with the CAMI grant than the district attorney's office, so it's balancing the CAMI grant.
Question, the health and life insurance numbers changed slightly?
And that has to do with the CAMI grant also.
Okay.
It also, because of the moving, the administrator for the CAMI grant percentage was reduced to 0.6. It changed the amount of insurance for that position. So there's changes in probably all the associated payroll costs because there's a change in FTE of a person in there. Page 25. I don't think anything changed, but lines 20 through 26, admin fees. Clerk, county clerk recording, page 27. The line 19, unemployment capital projects. And on page 28, lines 20 through 26, admin fees. Page 29 is the title page for the Community Development Fund planning. Actually, it shouldn't say Community Development Fund, it should just say Community Development Planning.
apparently we didn't cause any changes there.
The change is everything. There's nothing in the proposed lines. So this is all moved over here. It doesn't have capital projects on line 9 in the proposed in the Fund 217 where it came from. There was a line there, but when it was brought over, it doesn't have the line there. So there's really no changes because the changes would be in the other fund where it came from. And the change is that it's all there instead of in the other fund. County Surveyor, page 32. Line 17, unemployment capital improvement.
And line 1 also.
Yeah, there was a slight change in line 1.
there is a change there. Oh, and you will see on the next page the reason why.
All right.
So I'm going to go to the next page. The county assessor's fund was budgeted kind of at a zero. And instead of leaving a 20-something dollars contribution out of the fund, I just reduced that fee on line one, or increased that fee on line one to make it zero again. We'll see that a lot when we get to the funds that actually balance to zero, because I had to change something else to make it be zero again once I changed the admin fees. So the admin fees on page 33, lines 21 through 27. County Sheriff,
If we, I thought the surveyor told us that he had reduced his own compensation slightly downward
And
to
that was-
balance his budget. Is that still?
that was in the proposed. It was already in the proposed.
Okay. And that it carries forward into the approved.
Yes, I mean, everything that was in the proposed is in the approved except for the changes that we're talking about and the changes we made during the budget committee. Oh, come on. Okay, page 35 or 36. Sheriff. Line 30. Is the unemployment capital projects. And line 12. Line 12, removing the transfer in from the road fund of 200,000. There's a slight change here on the regular because I don't think something was adding right when I checked all the payrolls when I was doing this approved budget. So I fixed that and it reduced it a little bit. And I think something wasn't adding in the payroll. Because what I did is I looked at the payroll and I said, it should be this total amount. And I looked at this one and it wasn't totaling to that amount. So I had to find out where it was, something was wrong. So anyway, there's a slight change right there because of that.
Right where? Which
Question?
line?
On line 19.
So we say slight change, but that's $8,000. So where does that end up? Does that automatically?
Goes to the bottom line.
So, okay.
And one of the reasons, I'm not sure, I'd have to go back and look and see what the error was, but there was just something not adding right, or they had typed over my line again. And I don't remember which ones were which, but I found one error someplace and a typed over in a lot of places. I'm gonna have to lock those cells so they can't type over those cells. Or I was gonna say next year, but
Maybe make
I
that
don't wanna-
suggestion to the next
But
person.
I will. Okay, line 37. Not line 30, page 37. Lines 23 through 28. Admin fees. Page 38 and 39 are just have the history there because that was moved to another fund. Page 40 and 41, that was moved to another fund, so it's just showing the history. Page 42 and 43, Forest Patrol moved to another fund, so it's showing the history. Harbor Substation, there really wasn't a change here because we discussed it. The Harbor Substation is being funded in the grant fund under Justice Reinvestment Grant. So this didn't change from the proposed budget, but it is being funded, just being funded elsewhere. Sheriff Jail Department, Line 32, the unemployment capital projects. Page 45, lines 25 through 31 on the admin fees.
That little box helps, by the way.
Yeah, it helps me too.
Spot it.
Sheriff Communications, page 46, line 9, reduction on the transfer in from the Road Capital Improvement Fund, 120,000. Line 23, capital unemployment capital projects. Page 47, lines 12 through 18, admin fees. Page 48, the animal control, the fees and everything has moved to non-departmental, so this is just history. Adult parole and probation, that moved to Fund 128, so that's just the history. Juvenile Department, page 53. Line 37, unemployment capital projects. Page 54, lines 31 through 36, admin fees. Emergency services, page 56. Line 19, unemployment capital projects. Page 57, lines 13 through 19, admin fees. Solid waste, page 59. Line 10, second line 10. Unemployment capital projects, lines 17 through 23, admin fees. Veteran services, page 61, line 14, second 14. When you insert lines, this line column over here, you have to kind of fill down and fix it. And then these other two line columns say equals this column. So if it's not fixed over here, it's not fixed here, and it's not fixed over here, because that one says equal that
Can you
column
just
too.
get in and punch a button and it'll renumber everything, so it's,
Yeah.
okay, I figured you could.
We can fix it. It's just we've got to go through. The line numbers are really for the approved budget, but it helps you guys, so we tried to fix
Oh,
them
yeah.
wherever they were. So this is line, second line 14, capital improvement projects. Page 62. Or line 13 through 19, admin fees. RSVP, no longer, the program, we don't even have any longer, so the next pages are all history. Also, the Sheba program is no longer, so history. Other requirements. Line 3 changed, it's the 30% transfer to the Commissioner's Fund, and when you change the Commissioner's Fund, it reduced the transfer. dollar 30% down to 37,152, so that line changed. All of those unemployment capital improvement lines that were reduced totaled 20,894. So the transfer so we put it here rather than in all those line items we just went over.
What page are you on there, please?
I'm on page 70. So line 22 is 0, which means the general fund is a balanced budget as we're presenting right here.
Excuse me, line 22.
Line 22,
Page 70.
page
Yeah,
70.
I'm just, don't want to miss that. I may take this home and frame it. Thank you.
The summary down below totals the personnel services, materials and services, capital outlay, transfers, contingencies, with total requirements, and then it totals total resources except property taxes, and then the property taxes estimate, and then the total resources. So the next fund, Commissioners Fund, page 72. So lines 2 through 19 all changed. Lines 23 through 28 all changed. Page 73, the reduction for to $4,500 for the travel changed line 2 for conference fees. Line 8 and 9 for travel, meals, and lodging and assigned vehicles. Line 11 for mileage allowance. And also there's a dollar change on line 5 to make it be 0. Payroll, when it comes over, it's not coming, it's rounded. So a lot of times there's this dollar, because it's showing one number, but it's actually including rounded numbers, so sometimes there's a dollar difference.
Question on that page?
Commissioner Hodgson.
Okay. What's the, I'm on page 73, and you mentioned lines 2, 8, 9, and 11. Was that a calculation after we did whatever based on something, or where?
They total 4,500. I was told to do it to spread that cut proportionally. So that's what I added up what they were percentage-wise of the total, and then spread that cut proportionally to those line items.
And if it changes a little bit within that category, that's no big deal, just as long as the total is 45.
That's what I
Right.
was trying to do.
Okay.
Is it
sounds good.
45?
4,500.
Yeah, did I check? Are you checking that?
How'd you know I was doing that?
Because I could see you over there with your... she's
Right
got
on, baby.
And I'm assuming
All right,
that
I'm correct.
you recall that. I don't recall the specific conversation.
Is it an issue?
Well, that's why, I would like a day or 2 or 3 to go over this book now. We're going back a week, so it's not appropriate for me to stop, the conversation where it's going, but that's the issue that I have, and this is not a reflection, it's just, we've been through all these, now we're going back, what did we talk about for the last 40 hours over the last 6 days? I truly can't remember everything that we talked about. And
Well,
anybody
we-
that thinks they can,
We did go over this again on Friday, all the changes that I was going to put in, and this one was discussed also, so.
well, this is the resulting calculations from all of that, but I'm
Right.
seeing that, now for the first time on so many of these, so that's just a comment.
Page 70, next fund is road department. Page 75. The changes that were made here were netted to line 22, which is what they were taking out of road capital improvement. So a little less than $20,000 reduced the amount, reduction in road department from the different cuts affected, reduced the amount taken out of road fund by a little less than $20,000.
22.
So on lines 39 and 40, if you look on the proposed budget, the total amount was of the 1.5% that was split between lines 39 and 40. The total amount was put in line 40. So I think that was a type over. I don't know why. So when I corrected the payroll links, there's 7,042 in line 40 and nothing in line 39. The net effect is that reduction of $7,042. I don't think there's any changes on page 76. Page 77, lines 28 through 33, admin fees. Page 78, no changes. Roadside improvement fund, page 80, no changes. Court mediation fund, page 82, no changes. Bike and footpath reserve fund, page 84, no changes. County Clerk's Record Reserve Fund, page 86, no changes. Cornerstone Preservation Fund, page 88, no changes. State Court Security Fund, page 90, no changes. By the way, this is the fund that we had a workshop yesterday with Thomas Langford. And this is the funds that he's talking about, the state security funds that he's basically in charge of. It's state money. Law Library Fund, page 92. Lines 21 through 27, admin fees changed. Line 13, unemployment capital projects. And then I changed line 20 to balance it, and that's just added to their money that they spend on books and periodicals.
Well, they're getting cut for a little bit.
Line, Economic Development Fund, page 94. Line 22, unemployment capital improvements. And line 12 is the line that I use to balance, is their beginning fund balance. I just reduced it to balance this fund. And page 95, the changes are lines 17 through 23, which are the admin fees. So when we changed the admin fees and changed that unemployment, then I changed the carryover balance to balance it to 0. I tried to pick a line that really didn't affect much within these funds as I balanced them. So the next fund is all the sheriff restricted funds. Starting page 98 is the sheriff's special projects fund. He uses that mostly for when they have these special projects that, like, you know, even like Memorial Day weekend, the extra staff that he has to have, or extra patrols or something. That's when he pays some of the regulars to help out on things. Page 99, search and rescue. Line 11, the carryover fund balance is the one that I use to balance after we fix the line 24 unemployment capital projects. And then line on page 100, lines 1 through 7, admin fees. Page 101, Marine Patrol, moved from the general fund. This one basically balanced to 0 because the amount coming in from Title III on line 6 is the one that you can only put as much to make this 0. That's the only amount you could transfer. So the budget for line 6 changed to balance this budget. For the change on line 21, unemployment capital projects. At the bottom of the page, lines 38, 39, 40. In the top of the next page, 1 through 4, admin fees. Page 103, Sheriff's Force Patrol, moved from the general fund. I think what I did was I changed line 2. I'm not sure if that grant is a certain dollar amount, but that's the one I changed to balance.
It is a certain dollar.
Well, then you'll probably get a little bit more revenue than the balanced budget.
You're off $1 on line 30.
On line 30,
Those are admin fees.
yeah,
Just having fun.
yeah, fine, thank you. I'm gonna leave it.
Couldn't find any other mistakes.
Stop
so-
having
Yeah,
fun.
That's a reduction,
You
not a
have to
mistake.
look hard to find mistakes in writing.
Seriously?
Yes.
$1.
Line 18 is the reduction in unemployment capital projects, and Lines 29 through 31, admin fees, and apparently line 30 should be 675. No, that's right, 675, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's correct.
Good job.
All right. I thought you found me a mistake that I made, and it's hard to do. Lines, on 104, lines 1 through 4 are admin fees. Page 105, jail and the inmate services, no changes. Page 106, parole and probation. I think I did that line 2 to make it 0. So that one changed a little bit. Lines 26, the capital, unemployment capital projects. Page 107, lines 15 through 21, admin fees. Then the bottom of that page shows the summary. All of those funds, they're all in Fund 128, so all of those different departments within this fund total and balance to 0. Brookings Airport Fund, page 109, operations, no change. Page 110, line 16 through 22.
What about line 3?
What's there on line 3 on this page?
Yeah, on page.
Yeah, line 3. Okay, so lines 16 through 22 are admin fees, and the net change in admin fees was added to line 3 to balance. Also, there's a line 30, that's that 8,347 that was transferred, and that's from the amount on line 7. So line 7 went from 10,347 to 2,000 and transferred the difference on line 30 to the general fund. Okay. Page 111. This is the
Are we supposed to take a break right now?
What time is it?
10. Is it a 10 o'clock break that we're supposed to take?
We could take a break if you want to.
Well, I thought we
Yeah,
had to.
10 to 10:30 and
So
return.
before we start another one, is it
Okay.
okay?
Well, this is the last one of this fund, so we'll
Okay.
just finish this
All right.
one. There's no change. Bottom of the page, bottom of the page shows the total requirements, total resources for Fund 130, which had 2 departments. One was the airport grant, one was airport operations. They balanced to 0. So we'll start again with the Port Orford Landfill Trust after break.
So let's be ready to go at 15 after, which, if that's all right.
Are they 15-minute breaks or 10-minute breaks?
10 minutes?
Yeah, go 10.
He has a union.
Well, these are 15.
Not a union.
The calendar.
It's not union?
No.
Okay, then he has 10-minute break.
All right. All right.
10 minutes.
Only is
my
10
friend.
minutes, their union contract is 15.
Yeah.
All right.
And
So
if
10-minute
you-
break then.
If you don't eat your meat, you can't have your pudding.
I thought it was vegetables.
What draws you to the Oregon coast? Is it the green and blue surf on a brilliant sunny day, or angry, boiling waves during a raging winter storm? Do you prefer quiet coves or powerful breakers churning the sand? How about sand castles? Do you come for the rising tide or the setting sun, to marvel at whales gliding through the sea or flying in the sky? Reasons to travel the Pacific Coast Scenic Byway are as far-reaching as your imagination. This is a spectacular part of Oregon that traces the entire coastline along Highway 101 guiding you to the sea and away again, to coastal towns big and small, lowland marshes, and breathtaking overlooks. It's a long byway stretching from the mouth of the Columbia River to the California border, 363 miles in all of some of the most unblemished, awe-inspiring seascapes you'll find anywhere. In addition to its designation as a scenic byway, Highway 101 in Oregon also has been selected as an all-American road. That means when you come here, you will experience one of only 31 roads considered to be the best of the best in America.
You know, when people come to the Oregon coast, they're really astonished how beautiful it is. And what separates it from many of the other places in North America that are coastal is how undeveloped it is. And that's because Oregon had a very far-sighted land use program back in the 1970s. We have all these wonderful state parks along the scenic byway that are perfect places to stop and enjoy nature in a relatively unspoiled way.
From the north, you begin in Astoria, the first permanent European settlement in the Pacific Northwest. It's a genuine maritime community with ship traffic from around the world seeking harbor up the Columbia. The official State Maritime Museum of Oregon sits here on the river. Beautiful Victorian houses dot the hillside. And standing 600 feet above sea level is the 125-foot Astoria Column. It features a hand-painted spiral frieze that would stretch over 500 feet if unwound. Heading south, you'll find the community of Seaside, a popular vacation spot that offers miles of public beaches, an oceanfront promenade, and a downtown core packed with restaurants, shops, and even a beach-type arcade. Cannon Beach is home to one of Oregon's most photographed natural wonders, Haystack Rock. Get your shots from the beach, or take a short drive up to Ecola State Park and look down on this 235-foot work of art. The picturesque small town is filled with art galleries, shops, and cafes. Ready for more? 10 miles to the south, this is the view from Cape Falcon. You're 700 feet above the Pacific. Here, the Pacific Coast Byway has been carved out of Neahkahnie Mountain and held in place by stone walls built in the 1930s by craftsmen in the Civilian Conservation Corps. Upon descending the mountain, the highway drifts inward around Tillamook Bay to Tillamook, the unofficial dairy capital of Oregon. The verdant valley of dairy farms in this area produces 25 million gallons of milk annually. Much of that is processed into natural cheddar cheese. And near more than 800 miles of navigable waters, Tillamook is a crossroads for North Coast recreation. From here, you owe it to yourself to veer off Highway 101 to explore the Three Capes Scenic Loop. This drive places you right at the beach, beginning with Cape Mears, home to the shortest lighthouse in Oregon. 9 lighthouses stand sentinel along Oregon's coastline. They're monuments to our maritime heritage, towering links to the past, and as much a part of the rugged Oregon coastal landscape as any offshore monolith. The Cape Mears Lighthouse was first illuminated in 1890. Oregon's oldest lighthouse is at Cape Blanco, the westernmost point in the state. It was commissioned in 1870 to aid shipping generated by gold mining and the lumber industry. The 93-foot-high Yaquina Head Lighthouse is the tallest in Oregon. Today, its automated light continues to aid navigation at the entrance to Yaquina Bay. Many of the lighthouses are open to the public. Most happen to be excellent places to view nesting seabirds and offshore sea life. Tide pools, those rocky areas between high and low tides, support unique and diverse plants and animals. Vast amounts of colorful, otherworldly creatures wait to be discovered. But walk cautiously. These organisms are tough enough to withstand the pounding surf, but are utterly vulnerable to human activity. Wildlife and sea life abound on the coast.
There are 6 national wildlife refuges along the Oregon coast. The Pacific Coast Scenic Byway bisects these refuges or goes alongside them. It provides you the opportunity to see a wide variety of abundant wildlife, including seabirds, seals and sea lions, deer and elk, and many other wildlife.
Cape Kiwanda lies at the southern end of the Three Capes Scenic Loop, near the town of Pacific City. Here you'll find a second Haystack Rock on the byway. Hike up the dune to marvel at stunning views of sandstone formations as they turn yellow, gold, or even red in the changing sunlight. If your timing is right, you'll spot one or two of the dory fleet sprint onto the beach, after a day of fishing. How's this for a dinner setting? Restaurants along the Pacific Coast Scenic Byway accommodate just about any taste. Many serve an ocean view with every meal. Up and down the coast, you'll find seafood, of course, but don't limit yourself just because you're by the water. The Central Coast begins around Lincoln City, which is one of the larger communities on the byway. It has a reputation for being windy and was recognized by Kite Lines magazine as the best place to fly a kite in North America. It was incorporated from several small towns and as a result offers a sandy beach that is 7.5 miles long. A number of small state parks lie nestled along the ocean between Lincoln City and Newport. Stop, get out of your car, and take in the commanding views that are there, right next to your all-American road. Depot Bay boasts the world's smallest navigable harbor, 6 square acres in all. A seawall runs the length of the downtown, so everywhere you go, you're rewarded with a dramatic view of the Pacific. It's considered Oregon's whale-watching capital, with thousands making their way past Oregon each fall and spring. Fishing and whale-watching excursions regularly set sail from this little harbor. Leaving Depot Bay, you'll soon find yourself at Cape Foulweather, a basalt outcropping that looms 500 feet above the water. It was here, in 1778, British Captain James Cook first sighted the mainland of North America on the Pacific coast. A fierce storm that almost put an end to his expedition earned this rugged stretch of coastline its name. Coastal weather can change by the hour. You will find a lot of wet days, but rain can become blue sky with white clouds in an afternoon. Mist kissing the headlands burns away, or storms can last for days. Some people come for those storms. Whether you find sunbursts of happiness or cloud cover like a quilt, there's always a reason to come back. Like Lincoln City, Newport is one of the larger towns on the byway. The historic Bayfront on the north side of Yaquina Bay hosts one of Oregon's largest commercial fishing fleets. It has a busy, genuine working waterfront feel, with fish plants and boats coming and going from as far away as Alaska. On the south side of the bay is the Oregon Coast Aquarium. Share waters beneath the ocean with sharks and rays. And don't miss the sea otters at mealtime.
Now, all 4 of our otters were rescued otters. They were found out in the wild.
For the next 50 miles, your trip along Highway 101 hugs the coast. Many more state parks offer opportunities to stop and take in outstanding vistas, crashing waves, and offshore rock formations. 2 small towns of note are Waldport and Yachats. Waldport sits on Alsea Bay, where fishing, clamming, and crabbing are popular. The 40-mile stretch south of Waldport marks steep headlands, jagged volcanic outcrops, and jaw-dropping scenery, the rugged edge of the Oregon coast. Yachats is a quiet, unhurried artist town just a couple of miles north of Cape Perpetua. Drive to the top of this bluff, and you'll be 800 feet above the water. On a clear day, you can see 70 miles of Oregon coastline. Drive past Heceta Head Lighthouse to the Sea Lion Caves. A quick elevator ride 200 feet down puts you in America's largest sea cave, the year-round home of wild stellar sea lions. Rugged cliffs give way to graceful beaches as you approach Florence. In the spring, be on the lookout for wild rhododendrons along the roadsides. Similar to Newport, you'll find an historic Old Town commercial district along the Siuslaw River. Florence is the gateway to the Oregon Dunes National Recreation Area, a 47-mile sandbox of wind-sculpted sand dunes towering 500 feet above sea level. These are the largest expanse of coastal sand dunes in North America. Reedsport is at the center of the Oregon Dunes, but you can do more than ride a dune buggy or motorcycle. A short 3 miles east of town on Highway 38, more than 100 Roosevelt elk reside at the Dean Creek Elk Viewing Area. Early mornings or just before dusk are the best times to photograph the herd. Paying homage to Oregon's timber heritage, Reedsport hosts an annual Chainsaw Sculpting Championship, a time to watch 3-dimensional artwork come to life right before your eyes. Mountains of sand continue at Winchester Bay. You'll also find an active marina here. It's a great place to try your hand at crabbing or take a charter for salmon or bottom fishing. The dunes end and you enter the coast's largest urban area at Coos Bay. It has the deepest natural harbor between Seattle and San Francisco. Foreign vessels sail under the massive McCullough Bridge. You may have noticed, dotted along the Pacific Coast Scenic Byway are many beautiful and iconic bridges. The Megler Bridge in Astoria, Yaquina Bay Bridge in Newport, Alsea Bay Bridge in Waldport, Siuslaw River Bridge in Florence, and the magnificent McCullough Bridge in Coos Bay are works of art in their own right. Charleston is slightly off the byway at the mouth of the bay. It was once an old waterfront fishing village and has become a commercial and sport fishing center. From here, the Charleston to Bandon tour route offers another side trip off the byway. It's a wonderful way to explore a variety of natural Pacific Coast beauty in a number of settings: beaches, vistas, gardens, and more. Giant sea stacks, a tiny lighthouse, and an old town await you in Bandon. Do you like to golf? This remote area on the Oregon coast has not one, but 3 of the most stunning and challenging golf courses in the world. As you drive south of town, look for brilliant red bogs in the fall. You're passing through the cranberry capital of Oregon. After a trek through forests and farmlands, you'll reach Port Orford. The wild coast has begun. You're in the most westerly city in the continental United States, and you've reached some of the most awesome scenery on the byway. Here you can watch a fishing fleet launched by crane in one of only 6 dolly ports in the world. Port Orford covers less than 2 square miles. It's similar to many communities that call this all-American road home. Small in size, still with a lot to offer. Like Manzanita, with a vibrant business district and beautiful setting at the base of Neahkahnie Mountain. You can board a fishing charter out of Garibaldi, swim in freshwater lakes near Dune City, catch world-class windsurfing at Pistol River. There is little development from Port Orford to Gold Beach, outlet for the renowned Rogue River. Feel like going for a ride? Jet boat excursions run from May into October up this wild and scenic river. Or maybe a midday walk on an uncrowded beach is more your speed. The last dozen miles of the Pacific Coast Byway leading into Brookings save some of the best for last.
Oh, it's done. It should open up either next June or early July at the latest. That's mainly for site services and things like that.
Oh.
And the actual increase in medical is negligible compared to what's on this.
Well, we're waiting for Mrs. Kallstrom. The way I see things going is we'll continue in this vein, then we'll try to get an idea if everybody's happy with some very general parts of the budget and then vote on. And in other words, do we all agree it's a balanced budget? Do we all agree that the funds that are where we think they're coming from are from where they are actually from there? And what other issues that come up, and then we'll vote. Then we have to do the income tax, the property tax stuff. And then at the end, perhaps we'll just try to give each person a chance to say something about what they think of what was accomplished and what is looking like coming down the road for next year's process. And I hope we can get that done by, it'd be nice to have that done by 1:15 or so. I don't know, maybe not.
Is that going to work for you?
Well, that would work.
Okay.
Your appointment's at 2 though, right?
Yeah, at 2:30.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not sure to drive, I'm giving it an hour to drive from here to Crescent City.
Well,
You might want to make an hour 15.
Because you've got
There's a lot of
Memorial
traffic on the road.
Weekend traffic starting.
Yeah, okay.
So.
All right, so let's go back at it. Thank you.
There's a lot more traffic on the road today.
All right. Page 113, the Port Orford Landfill Trust. No changes. Towers Operations and Maintenance Fund. Page 115, the operations part of it. The Title III changed because this is another one where.
What line is that?
Line 27. It's another one where when it zeroes out, the transferring from Title III zeroes it out. And so that Title III was changed. Page 116, lines 9 through 13, admin fees. Page 117, the Towers Capital Fund, there's no change. Page 117, 118. Doesn't look like that column's adding correctly, so I need to fill over and make it add correctly. I'm going to make a note of that.
Yeah, that's pretty obvious.
Yeah. Just need a quick little fill right on that one. County Parks, page 120. Line 14. I guess we wanted to put some money into the contingency fund in parks. So we added $10,000 to line 14. And then the rest of it is adjustments for the changes to make the fund zero. Line 24, unemployment capital projects. Page 121, 15 through 20, admin fees. And line 32, 31 is the operating contingency.
Does anybody remember why we did that?
You know, I'd have to ask Director Trost. I don't remember. I think that he was a little, do you remember?
I was the one that raised the question. I personally still think it's low, but it had to do with possible exposure, in this case, to the
Okay.
Flores Lake, which is
Okay, I thought
up in
maybe
the
that would be-
hundreds of
You know, I
thousands.
just didn't make the note when
Yeah.
on my notes.
And
but-
that even notes like that would help as far as a contingency to.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay. And then page 122 or 123, victims assistance, the criminal fines. Line 17.
What about line 7?
Line 7 is a change because of the line 17. It's making the fund zero.
Okay.
Carryover balance. And so line 17, second line 17. Those are so cute. Okay. The unemployment capital projects. So that's funded zero. Page 125 is the Victim Assistance VOCA grant, federal grant. Line 14. Unemployment capital projects. And I believe that I put the change into line 17, professional services training. They do that on that grant. So that would to make the grant zero. Child advocacy, page 125. There's a lot of changes in here. Has to do with the handout that I gave when we changed the grant. Was 38,379, not 35,000, and the transfer to the DA is now 3,665. There's a change in payroll for the FTE. change in unemployment capital projects, change in admin fees, change in the budget to match her budget for the grant. So a lot of the line items have changed. That was the handout that I did last week. So there's a kind of a lot of changes there, but it really has to do with that handout and her grant budget. Page 128, starting on line 11, is the crisis assessment. It's a carryover fund balance, and there's no change to that part of Fund 213.
13?
Fund 213. So the total of Fund 213 is the child advocacy and this crisis assessment, and the total is 0. Page 120 or 130, Curry County Fair. It's in 2 parts. The first part is the event center. I think that we had a change there, so maybe not. Line 34, unemployment capital projects. On page 132, lines 16 through 20, admin fees. Line 27, the reserve for future expenditure is the adjustment line. This one doesn't adjust to 0 because it's supported by the next part of the fund, which is the fair operations. So the total here is a minus 54,391, but in the fair it's a positive 54,391. So on fair operations, line 23 is unemployment capital projects. Page 134, no changes on that page. But you can see at the bottom there that the total requirements and resources balance. Page 136 or 37, one page to 137. Community Development Fund Planning Department. The change here was that it was moved to the general fund. So you have the proposed column and the approved column is 0. Both pages. Page 139 is Community Development Building Department. Line 5 was changed for all the admin fees and the unemployment adjustment. Line 16, unemployment capital projects. Page 140, lines 2 through 8, admin fees. So line 10, put in $2,500 for computer. I don't remember why. I'm thinking that it was supposed to be in the proposed budget and it was missed. So it's in there now. I don't think I have the notes on it from our meeting, so I think what I did was when I looked at what Carolyn gave me for this budget, I don't think that capital outlay for a computer got put into the proposed budget. And it was part of her proposed budget. Which I think is why I was not balanced for The difference, if you look back up here on page 138, where it says 9,704 negative, and then you go down to page 140 on line 19, where it says 12,204. The difference is that 2,500. So it wasn't balancing by 2,500 because the line item did not get put into line 10 there in the proposed budget. So that's a correction of, it was basically like a typo.
So when we're looking at our 5-year plan and the purchase of computers, how does this mesh with that? And
Well, what we talked about before was that that when we budget next year, that all the departments need to interface with IT, and the planning for computer replacements is done with the IT department, just not by department heads in isolation by themselves.
so this may show up just the same number next year.
I think that she has a new employee, and that's the budget to get that employee a computer.
Any comments on that when we move on?
So bottom line, that didn't affect the amount that came from general fund originally, so.
No.
Just
but-
because it was a typo.
So you can see here on page 141 down here, this $2,500, that's the typo. It shouldn't have been appearing down there, and that's because that number just didn't get typed in up above.
Okay.
And now it's in, so the line on this column over here on page 140, down here where it should be 0, it is 0.
Okay.
This Public Services Fund, Environmental Services, was transferred to the state in 2014. It still has a year of history, so it's still here. Public Health and Human Services Fund, page 143, line 7, Unemployment Capital Projects. And line 11, the Professional Services, Environmental Health, balanced it. That's the payment that we get the money on line 1, then we have some expenses, and then the rest is paid over to CCH. Page 144, Public Health. This is the in and out with services for several grants that we have to be the ones in charge of as a pass-through to CCH. So everything's in and out. No changes to that part. Page 140. 9. This is starting admin fees. This is BOC office. Changes lines 6 through 22. That's adding the county manager to the BOC office. Line 33, taking out unemployment capital projects. And there was an error in, the 903 here, the difference in payroll is the county manager. So some of those went up quite a bit. Line 2, adding $5,000 for the management search. Page 151, accounting department, lines 2 through 18. Redoing all the admin fees. Line 30, unemployment capital projects. Page 152, lines 1. Twelve, 14. There was a government officers, finance officers, government accounting finance officers conference in spring conference that was removed from the travel budget for the finance department. Page 153, County Council, lines 2 through 18, changes in admin fees received from other funds. Line 30, unemployment capital projects. Line 1. Line
You're to the next page, right?
10, yeah, page 154, line 1, line 10, line 18, and line 20 are the adjustments the county council made to his budget. And then there's line 7 was rounding payroll adjustment, dollar adjustment. Page 155, payroll personnel, line 24, unemployment capital projects. That changed lines 2 through 13. No changes on page 156. There's still payroll, human resources. Page 157, IT, lines 4 through 20, admin fee changes. Page 158. Line 14, kind of a correction, but putting the amount approved for software. Line 20, amount approved for non-capital computer equipment. Line 26, amount approved for the 27,194 for hardware. I think that's all the changes. Page 159, occupancy, lines 6 through 13. Admin fees were coming in from the different departments. Line 26, unemployment capital projects. And that was it for that occupancy. 161 is the North Curry.
Question, please?
Sure.
Oh, never mind.
Okay. Okay. Page 161, the North Curry, there's building up there. No change. This is all the little boxes. They're connecting to each one of these little blue boxes in each department, in each fund. So that's why you get all your boxes. Page 163 is the spread for occupancy admin fees. General Service Internal Service Fund, page 165. lines 20 through 23, admin fees, was changed. Where did I change it? Oh, it's changed on the beginning fund balance, line 3. To balance to 0. Vehicle replacement reserve, page 167, line 17, admin fees changed. And I changed line 15, the broker fees to balance. Page 169, the road capital improvement fund. You know, it's not showing these hash marks on my spreadsheet. So when it's going into the PDF file, I'm going to have to talk to Sina about it not showing the totals. So we might have to percentage-wise change the screen on this one so it doesn't do that.
Does it?
It's not showing in Excel, the hash marks are because the column is too narrow for the number to show all the way.
Does the printed out documents show a number? No?
No.
Okay.
You have to expand
The column, sure.
Yeah, but in Excel, it's not showing hash marks, so it's only doing it when it goes into PDF, and I don't know why it would do that.
Okay.
But the change here would be lines 15 and 16, the transfers to the general fund for patrol and dispatch. And then line 17, the reduction of the transfer to the road fund. Also, line 2. I'm trying to think why that would have changed. I think line 2 changed. I changed the to take care of the amount changed on line 17 to because it had to be 0. So the plug was up there on your beginning fund balance.
Okay, can we go back to the hash marks?
Okay.
The value listed there is, it shows no, well, is there anything significant there in that value?
No, it's adding those 2 lines.
Can you
That's all.
verbally,
That's all.
verbally say what that is
Yeah.
for the record?
Okay, so on line 1 and 2, they add up on line 3. That's the total line. And it's not showing the total, it's showing hash marks because the column is too narrow to show all the numbers. Line
Thank you.
21 is adding lines 11, line 13, line 18, and line 20.
And it's the same number
And
because
it
it
should be the
balances.
same number as line 3 because line 22 is 0.
So can you say what that number is?
What the number is?
Yes.
I have to add it up.
Right.
All right.
Here.
I can't use one of those.
There's a calculator on the
Insane.
computer.
Excuse me.
I gotta find Excel in here.
This isn't fancy enough for her.
I can't. You know what? I can do a 10 key, but I cannot do calculators.
I got you.
I don't know why.
I
My
grew up on
fingers
10
won't do it.
keys, so.
So it's just adding those 2 values together.
Yeah,
That's not
3,
difficult. We
7,
do that in our head.
31,322,165, perhaps?
Good job. Can you say that
Probably.
again?
31,322,165.
That would be in the approved column.
Total resources.
It should be that should be the number on line 3 and on line 21 also.
Thank you.
Is
Okay.
it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay. So
Questioning my arithmetic?
No way.
The only reason anyone went to law school is because there would be no math.
Oh,
That's why teachers go into elementary school teaching.
Yes.
Okay, so we're on the county lands fund, page 171, no change. Cable TV franchise, page 173, no change. PEG access fund, page 175, no change. The building repair construction projects fund, page 177, lots of changes. Okay, so lines 6 through 18 are the 0.75 unemployment rate that was coming in here. So those are all zeroed out now. There's a transfer in from the general fund for its share. The $20,894 on line 6 is now on line 21. It's just a straight transfer from the general fund. Lines 10 through 14 on page 178, admin fees.
Excuse me? So I just want to make sure I got this. So the 2894, we're back to 177 on line 21, the transfer. That's just making up for the line 6.
Yes.
So have we reduced the contribution to the unemployment reserve by the remainder of that, or is that what?
No, the unemployment reserve is getting 0.75% from everybody still. The other 0.75 that was going into here only is coming in as a transfer from the general fund for that part and nothing else from anybody else.
Right, so has that part been reduced by the remainder, or did we make that up some other way? I can't remember.
No, I did not. I
So it's
mean,
just less going
the
to
rest of the funds, the lines 7 through 18, they're not contributing anything to this fund.
Right, so then in fact, so this fund will be diminished, or the contribution of this fund will be diminished.
Is diminished by
Right,
that,
the remainder, right.
by the remainder. But as you can see in the year before, what was coming from the general fund in this year's budget is $150,000 contribution. When I cut 5%, the only line in other requirements to cut was this one, so that one got the full 5% cut. So it's kind of moving it from that direct transfer from the general fund, other requirements, to the transfer in down. It's an IGS up there above, and it's a direct transfer down below. They're both coming from the general fund, the 117,374 and the 28,994. So I think that the point was this is supposed to be trying to keep up with the deferred maintenance on our buildings, and they're just trying to get more funds in here to take care of the projects that are pending. So on page 178 is the admin fees, lines 9 through 14. And then the difference of what we weren't collecting from those other funds is on line 23. So that was just, since we weren't getting it from the other funds, it reduced line 23. Children and Families Fund is not currently funded anymore. It's got 2 years of history still. Page 181, 182. These are the federal grants. I don't think there's any change. Page 183 at the top, come on. The heading didn't come through on this one, but Sina said she's going to fix that. But you can see on lines 4 through 6 is the budget for the Harbor Substation.
What page is that, please?
Page 183. And this is another one where it's not totaling in the total lines, line 18 and line 24 should both be 1,605,729. Page 185 are the state grants, no change. Page 187 is the general equipment self-insurance. Line 6 and 7 were reduced in line 12 to transfer $60,000 to the general fund. Page 189, the road equipment self-insurance, no change. Page 191, bridge light maintenance fund, no change. Page 193, unemployment reserve fund. Line 19, we transfer $127,000 to the general fund, and that amount reduced from line 17. Page 195, PERS reserve fund, no change. Page 197, county school fund, no change. Page 199, Title III, prior to 2008. On Title III, no change on page 199. Page 200.
Hold it a minute. What about line 5 on page 200?
I'm only on 199.
Oh,
I could move to page 200. I was just about to.
well, somehow I flipped 2 pages.
Oh, okay. Page 200. Are we all on the same page?
Now we are.
Okay.
I apologize. First
Page-
mistake of the day. Since the last one.
Line 5. So when I was looking at Marine, there was a transfer to the general fund Marine that was not recorded in the proposed budget. So on line 20, I put that transfer in and reduced line 5 for that transfer. And then line 23, the towers, to balance it, was a different amount than the proposed, which also adjusted line 5. Page 201. So there's actually three pieces to Title III. That was the first one, the second one, and this is the third piece. And so the GIS balances to 0, so the change in GIS meant the transfer was different. So that's a change. And also, this fund also was off by $28 in the proposed budget. So that was fixed in the approved budget, and both of those numbers were adjusted on line 17. And that fund is now balancing at 0. And that was the last page.
All right, are there any other comments you have on changes? Any way we can understand
know,
and process this now?
I think that we went over everything pretty thoroughly on Friday of the changes that I was going to make, and bringing you this to show you where all those changes are. I do have a couple of handouts I'm going to give you.
We don't get colored ones?
No, they're not. And actually, my originals are not colored. To me, gray is a total.
I'm just giving you a bad time.
I'm gonna take this off.
We're passing 2 pages to each person.
Yeah.
So,
Okay, those 2 pages go to
those
your boy.
One stapled, one not.
so,
And then I'm gonna give you these 2.
okay, I'll give
He
him
gets
both of
2,
these.
you get 2, I get 2.
I think those are duplicates, aren't they?
I don't think so.
One stapled
How
and
many
one
pages
not.
are we gonna end up with?
There we go.
You have one that's one and one that's stapled.
Okay.
There's
Those are
2
yours?
pieces of paper.
Excuse me.
Did county council get one?
I guess there's 3 total pieces
Get
of
one,
paper,
did
but
everybody
2
get
of
one?
which are stapled.
We've got them here.
Okay, so what we're going to look at here is, and actually I can bring it up on the screen.
You can't even see that.
I was going to do it with my hands.
Good luck on that.
Okay. So, so the first 2 columns, this one that's a single sheet, is the 2017-18 budget, the general fund, and it's showing the proposed budget revenues and the proposed budget expenditures. And the adjustment were made, or the amount that each department is taking or adding to the general fund. And of course, it balanced to 0. And then we just went over, these are the current approved as of today revenue and expenditures, the amount each department is taking in and out of the general fund, and the adjustments that were made, the total adjustments that were made to the proposed budget. So as of 5/25, those are the
That's the far
adjustments
right
to the
column.
proposed. That's the
The
far
net
right
effect.
column, yeah. So the other handout is a I can get this thing to where, oh, there it goes. So these are a list of all the other funds. The proposed total revenues and expenditures in each fund, and they're supposed to be 0. And as of 5/25, the total revenues and expenditures, and then the adjustments. So for the fair, those are usually like that. They have a positive and negative balance because the operations supports or the fair supports some of the operations. And there, because of a payroll adjustment, there was a $145 change in both of those. The planning department has an adjustment because it was moved to the general fund, and that 1204 change was made in so that there wasn't a balance in building of $12,204, so it's now zero. So the total change was the 12,204. And then page 2 of that, on the third Title III, there was that $28 error, and it's corrected over here on the 525 column. So the total adjustments to the proposed budgets on all other funds except for general fund was the $2,500 in community development building, and the $28 error in the Title III Fund 465. But those are the totals. The balance for the 2007-18 as of 5/25 is zero, as it well should be.
So another way of saying that is we've got a balanced budget.
We have a balanced budget.
Yay.
Yes, a major goal, I think. Is there any question to that statement? Anybody want to discuss that further?
I have a question.
Yes, Counselor.
Thanks. So to summarize, Louise, the facts and figures you just went over and the revisions reflect the statement by the Budget Committee that they did not want to use road funds to balance the budget.
That's correct.
And it reflects all the changes
And it also, it does not include, though, the one that we did this morning
for the CAFA.
for the CAFA.
Thank
So
you.
that one will be included. I will correct that approved column, and that's what will be going to the commissioners if we approve this budget as amended.
And then, Mr. Chair, just wondering if you wanted to, after all that presentation, open it up to any public comment.
Excellent idea.
Where's the
I'm
carryover?
sure we're all in agreement. Yes, ma'am.
Which one?
Sure, please.
There's no carryover in general. They have individual carryovers.
Okay.
So they don't really have a
Nancy Sue
balance.
Rose, this is a question, so I don't know everything answered, but the road funds, when you say no money from the road funds, does that include the road department fund and the road capital improvement reserve fund? There's no money taken out of
There's
that
n-
either?
The answer to that is that the general fund does not use any road capital improvement dollars. The road fund itself is using road capital improvement dollars.
So there's no money taken out of either for the general fund?
There's no money taken out of, well, the money taken out of for the general fund was just taken out of the reserve fund. They were not taken out of the road department fund, and they never have been. So when they're transferring, when they say road fund, they're talking about the road reserve, capital reserve fund. So the answer is correct. There's no money being taken out of the capital reserve fund for the general fund in this budget.
Any other questions, any other statements, Terry?
Terry Freer in the Sea Beach. I'd like to commend everybody involved in both the pre-hearings and budget hearings and today. I've attended 3 out of the last 4 years of budget hearings. Didn't last year for obvious reasons, but this has been the most transparent and in-depth line-by-line issues that I can recall. And I commend everybody for their involvement. And I think the citizens should be pleased with the way this was conducted and transpired. Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor?
Is this public or?
Yes, so this is just John Huddle. I am the county council. This is a public comment. I did come up earlier and make a public comment to the board on a on a suggestion about furlough days. I would echo Terry Breyer's comments that as a citizen who owns property, pays taxes, lives in the county, I'd like to commend all of the citizen budget committee members and the board members for the thorough job you did, and also Louise Kallstrom, the budget officer. Just very impressed with the work everyone did. I think you listened to the staff, you listened to the citizens, and you listened to each other. And I don't think the people of the county could ask for much more than that. So, and you also made sacrifices personally. So, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
That's, all of your comments are important, and since they're positive, we really like them. Right? Yes, Commissioner Boyce.
I wonder if we forgot, we could have budgeted for flowers for your wife for the 8 days that sweethearts, that you gave up the time for this 8 days. And next year, I wonder if we can consider going to the Blue Room so we're all kind of sitting on the same level. That would, I would like us just to consider that. Thank you very much.
So what I see yet to do is we have to vote, make this a formal approval that we recommend this budget to the Board of Commissioners. I think Ms. Kallstrom has a list of forms that are going to help us see what we've got to do. It has to do with approving a tax. There's going to be a discussion on that and so on. Yes?
So, can we have any other, or have you gone to that point? And I have some still questions or comments or requests on what I've gleaned, we went through today.
So you would like to discuss these figures that we've done today?
Correct.
All right.
And so is this, are we okay
Yes,
to,
yes.
okay. If on, try to keep this with page numbers, I was trying to start low to high. If we go to page 71, which is commissioners, I believe. Yes, okay.
Are you sure 71?
I'm sorry, 71 says commissioners, so, or it says, would be 73.
Okay.
71 to 73, but the actual numbers are on 73. Okay. And I had originally, we had talked about items, line items 2, 8, 9, and 11, I guess. Yeah, 2, 8, 9, and 11. And originally, as I'd mentioned too in our conversation, I didn't recall cutting those further.
Well, that's the
When
total.
when the budget officer had, this was the only worksheet, as I recall, that I was privy to before the first day of the budget hearings on May 15th. It had to do with commissioners, of my recollection. Maybe the BOC office too. But on the commissioners, and I had cut those numbers approximately 50% from what they were. So I'm saying right now, I think the assigned vehicles was up in $9,000 or $10,000.
You could look in the column
Okay.
for adopted.
Okay. And I was looking at actual figures when we discussed that. So anyway, I'm not sure, I don't recall specifically when we agreed. I'm not saying that we didn't, okay, but I'm just saying I don't recall in what day, perhaps last week, we had agreed to take the $4,500 and divide it somehow. But I think that realistically, the travel, meals, and lodging at $1,420 for the fiscal year, and the IGS assigned vehicles, again, which is line item 9 for the fiscal year, and the travel mileage allowance that may be okay, but those two, I think they may be realistically low. And I would suggest or encourage some conversations and some consideration for, moving those up a little bit. That's my comment on that one. Do we want to finish that before I
Yes,
I go
Commissioner
to
Gold
another
has
one?
a
So I won't go to another subject right now.
Okay, I'm going to speak to that because we had decided that we would do a total of $4,500 for travel. And so Louise said, how do we want it allocated? And I suggested that we just do it proportionally. And so when I added this up just a few minutes ago, lines 2, 8, 9, and 11, it added up to $4,500. So
That was on Thursday. Last week.
yeah, I don't know when, but that's
Discussed commissioner's budget on Thursday last week.
Is there,
Mr. Chairman?
yes, Carl?
Carl King. Last year's budget was $17,000. There was nothing budgeted last year for conference fees. And there was nothing budgeted for travel and transportation. But money was charged to those line items. And that's why you face, in the coming weeks, a decision as to whether to adopt policies for the Board of Commissioners as to how to approve or disapprove travel expenses in advance instead of having them paid without any prior discussion. And so we started with 9,500. My memory is the same as Commissioner Gold's. We decided to reduce that to 4,500 and to allocate it pro rata. And I think that's an appropriate number. I think we need to tell the taxpayers that the Board of Commissioners are setting the example of how we have to conserve the taxpayers' money going forward, and that simply ought to, I'm not prepared to change. I'm certainly not prepared to increase that amount.
Could I make one more comment?
Yes.
A lot of the meetings and so forth are available by phone or some sort of an electronic device, and I just think we need to use those more. I've done it several times already, and it can be effective, so.
Any other comments? Commissioner Boyce?
Well, that was the basis for my quick letter this morning, is that apparently Commissioner Huxley and I have the same recollection. I did not know it was that the assigned vehicle was included in that figure. And so you may recall, I visited with other commissioners, and they thought the 4,500 with an assigned vehicle, even if as a commissioner we pay for the fuel, for example, that was doable. That was the advice I had. And so Mr. King says he's not ready to increase that, but if I understood the direction this morning from County Council, that the commissioner will decide if a vehicle would be available or not. And so I'm concerned that's dangerously low, and I agree with Commissioner Gold, and I've also participated on some by phone, but I don't know how to stress the importance of ONC, AOC. I did mention the Capitol. The legislature is, meets every other year on odd years. So it's going to come out of my reduced salary, and nobody took I'm going to be one of the highest or lowest paid, except for you two, full-time commissioners or full-time public employees in the elected officials, in the state. So I'm asking for a little bit of consideration so I can carry forward my responsibility, report back to the commissioners that I've done, and don't hamstring me. Don't hamstring the people here for our responsibility. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Again, my reason for bringing it up was I had a concern, and the beauty of this is I'm one of 6 votes. I'm only one of 6. So if it's considered, fine. If it's not,
Yeah,
I respect that point, just like, so.
Let me make just a real wild thought here. Is there any way you can come up with a corresponding decrease so that we still have the same balanced budget that we just kind of agreed that we wanted, and it's a matter, it really amounts to an allocation?
We can reduce Commissioner Boyce's pay a little bit more.
Do I have is that a motion?
Surely you would vote against that.
Mrs. Kallstrom has a comment, and then
Outside of the travel budget in the commissioners and the allocation from general liability insurance, and there's legal advertising and a copier that has a contract, there's nothing else to reduce in this budget. And the only way to balance it, if you add back to it, is to change the admin fees.
I have a
Or I
question.
could put in, I believe that because of I believe Commissioner Gold taking a less salary than Commissioner Brown, I believe there might be a carryover balance in this fund, and I could plug it into a assigned fund balance if I needed to balance.
So,
excuse me, Mr. Scaffold, and then Councilor Huddle.
Oh, I don't know, I was just gonna make a point, this did come up, it was exactly how you remember it, I remember it the same way, 4-2, but, we didn't all vote for it, but 4-2 said, yeah, reduce it to 4,500 and to be proportional, but, so, I guess it's one of the reasons I don't like making all those motions up front, because this happens at the end, but I just don't know what's changing here. What would be the number? What's the right number?
Okay, can we just go on to Councilor Huddle and then come back to...
thank you. Just a suggestion. So the budget process is, even after recommendation and approval by this body and adoption by the Board of Commissioners, there's still an ability to make adjustments to the budget by board action, as long as they don't exceed certain percentages, which I'm not anticipating this type of adjustment for travel to be. So, notwithstanding the concerns voiced by Commissioner Huxley and Commissioner Boyce and Committee Member Scaffo, there are processes available after this point in time to address these concerns if they actually come up. So I would hate to see the board get stuck on this as a stop sign, where I think there's a path forward, and let the work be done in the course of business over the next year.
All right, thank you, Mr. Scaffold.
There's a contingency line, right, still?
Not in this
big
fund. However, I do believe that even next year, if you find that that you really do need more money in there, and of the travel that you're doing, I believe there will be a carryover balance in this fund, because it was underspent because of difference of salary, and you could do a supplemental budget to budget in some of that carryover and change and supplement the travel budget during the year next year, if you find this is not enough.
Right, and the beauty of that is, if it's below a certain percentage of the budget, it doesn't even require a budget committee to reconvene for
Was
that.
that 5,000 or 5%?
It's a percentage of the
I thought it
overall
was
budget.
10%.
So, and we've done that, if I'm not mistaken, in the past.
Well, we've done
so-
probably 7 or 8 supplemental budgets
Sure.
so far this year.
So I just, and
So,
all, yeah,
It's just fixing the budget
Yeah.
as you go along. The budget's the plan,
yep.
and you need to fix it during the year sometimes,
Yeah.
and so that's the vehicle
Mr.
to do
Huxley.
it.
My reason for bringing it up was to put it before this committee. I understand that we can do those other things, but, and if I'm getting the feel, that we'd prefer not to. And I have no problem pursuing this particular topic further. at this point, but I understand the other options.
So
I just
you're not
think
going to
if-
offer a motion to do
No,
anything?
no, I'm just saying, if I felt that there was, the interest in saying, okay, maybe we should look at it, then fine. If not, that's fine, too, because I think there's been good involvement with this committee, and that was what I would prefer to do first, and not those other options, that's all. So I'll leave that, that's the end of my comments on that topic.
Okay, Commissioner Boyce?
Yeah, one quick clarification. My letter at the beginning of the meeting suggested it was a 3/4 commissioners travel cut. I think it's more like 2/3. But if you had a solution that would not stop this process, even now as we are bogged down here a little bit, what would that be again that we could possibly
There's
make a
two
motion?
choices. One, when you adopt the budget, you can make the change there. Or two, during the year next year, use your travel, figure out if you are going to be short by the end of the year and do a supplemental budget at that time and correct it then. I kind of like that second choice because it gives you a chance to try to live within the budget for the year. And if you just cannot do it, then you have the choice of doing the supplemental budget and just as much as you need so that when you budget next year, you know better what the travel needs really are.
That's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, is there some sense then that we can move on without feeling like we're sliding somebody's... Okay, Mr. Huxley, you got the floor.
Okay, another one, and that was, and this is my thought process here, because one of the options was certainly we had some of these still unrestricted carry forward that we changed from, as I recall now, from 100 to 60,000.
What page?
Well, I just use that, but go to page 149. And 149 and 150. And two reasons here, two requests. And I'll explain the reasons why. I think what occurred yesterday in a Board of Commissioner meeting is the first reading of the ordinance to pass the ordinance to hire a county manager / administrator did pass. And through the discussions that we've had the last couple of months on that topic, and certainly in the budget meeting discussions, there were comments to the effect that, okay, you consider, we talked about the 80,000, there was much conversation to look at 90, look at 100,000, and there was also on the other point, if you go on page 150, there had been the line item 2, I think Commissioner Gold had put in or recommended putting in, it was approved by the committee, 5,000 for the search. The information that Commissioner Gold gave us of this firm that's in Washington, she gave us a sheet. I put a call in.
It's closer to 10.
It's a lot closer to 10 than it is to 5. So 5 per, and I put a call in, but we were in meetings all day yesterday. I got a return call, but I didn't, not until after 5 o'clock yesterday. It's a lot closer to 10,000. It's like about 9,000, between 9 and 10,000. So I can guarantee if we proceed, we won't have enough money that we budgeted. So it's my urging that we revise that based on the fact that it won't be enough to even start the process.
Okay, Mrs. Colston.
Second on that point, I would also suggest increasing, it's not shown, I don't think, as a separate line, but maybe it is somewhere, increasing the 80,000 number to 90,000. Okay, so those are my two requests to put before this committee, this budget committee, at this point, because I know we'll run into trouble in the search, and I'd rather, err on a little bit more conservative.
If I understand you right,
on
you're
the
talking
dollar.
about the salary number 80 to 90.
That and also the search from 5 to 10.
Yes. Mrs. Colstrom?
memory of discussing the search professional fee was that we did discuss the $10,000 figure. We discussed that they were going to probably start during this fiscal year. And I said, well, why don't we consider that we probably will start but finish in the next fiscal year, so why don't we consider spending $5,000 out of this year and $5,000 out of next year, and that's why we budgeted $5,000. The discussion on the $80,000 salary was also kind of the same thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be an offer of $80,000 because we don't think that we're going to hire July 1st, and so there might be a little bit of a couple of months that there wouldn't be anybody taking that salary. Therefore, you can offer a higher salary depending on when you find your county manager.
Are you want to respond?
I understand that logic, but I think if that's our intent to begin with, or we're thinking how can we say a little lower number but to cover ourselves for going in with a higher number, I think I would rather say be a little more honest at the front end versus know that how you're going to cover trying to push through a little lower number and still end up with a higher number.
Can we take these at two parts? First, the 5,000
Sure.
that I remember you talking about. It seemed to make sense. Do you remember that conversation?
Vaguely, and I've also talked to this same firm as far as, and again, I'll know more this week as far as the possibility on a whole separate topic, but subject of search, but using existing funds that we do have in the finance office, because we brought up yesterday as far as looking still for a finance officer, a separate same firm, but a separate topic, a separate amount of money.
All right, how are we going to deal with this, Carl?
Carl King, my memory is the same as that of our budget officer. And there have been other places where we have, for example, the initial budget prepared by our budget officer included full salaries for all three commissioners because that could have been, but we chose not to adopt or recommend a budget with all that money in it. Instead looked at budgeting what was the reality of what the three commissioners had agreed that they would accept going forward. And I think we need to do the same here. Certainly, I remember my comment was I hope we don't wait until July 1 to start the process, and we ought to start it immediately. And that we'd spend half of the, I don't think anyone questioned it was going to cost much less than $10,000, but we'd spend half of it out of this year's budget and half of it out of the July 1, 2017 budget. And I think the same holds true with, we're not going to have a county administrator on staff on July 1. And rather, I thought that was clearly understood when we got to this point, and clearly understood on Monday when we last met. And to make any of those changes requires doing all the admin changes again, I believe. Because there's no way to, you got less than $10,000 in your materials budget for your office now.
Ms. Colstrom and then Commissioner Gold.
A way not to go through all the admin fees again, which I don't want to do.
I just don't understand.
You don't know what the kind of work that involves. I think what you could do is, if you do want to change one of these admin ones now, I think what you're going to need to do is do a direct transfer from the general fund of that amount and increase or decrease something in the general fund, which would be some kind of the materials and services, or increase that beginning fund balance revenue, of some kind to balance the general fund. But if you're going to increase one of these admin fees at this point, I would prefer to do it with a transfer from the general fund to make up the difference and correct 4 line items instead of 200.
Okay, did you have any, Commissioner Gold?
It's possible that we could get an interim manager that would probably take less than a regular manager, so that we would have time to really do the search correctly. So that's just my thought.
Can you put some numbers on the possibility, a probability number?
Well, let me just say I've talked to an individual that's well qualified that was willing to do the job for $50,000. I just said, what's your bottom line?
Thank you. Commissioner Huxley, did you have anything else?
On the topic that has to do with the sheriff's office, or law enforcement, I should say. And I know I've addressed this topic and we know a little more information now, so I just want to bring it back up and be absolutely sure that we have the funding in there. We discussed when I think it was with Captain Espinosa was here at the time, but what funding was available. We were in negotiations with the Teamsters Union. We're still apparently in negotiations, although there was in this last Board of Commissioner packet, there was a document that came out for approval of a 1-year agreement. Now, apparently there's some minor or whatever, I still understand issues are still ongoing, but it's not like it's out, okay, as far as the information. And in that document that was out in the full packet at the meeting yesterday, that was then pulled and basically suspended, if you will, until an unknown future date. So it was pulled from the packet. It wasn't discussed further and wasn't acted on, but it was a document that was out there. It does show a 5% step increase for all eligible members of the Teamsters Union. So my question to the budget officer is, does the budget have that in it so that we're sure we're not going to, pass this and come back in a week and something we knew we could have addressed now and have to address then? So that's my question.
We can deal with it then.
May I ask a question then, Commissioner Boyce? And then we'll go to an answer. When we talk about a 5%, are we talking about a 5% on the original hiring base salary, or are we talking about a compounded number that has
Well, no,
been
that's
built
as
up
of
over
their
the
current
years?
salary. But at their
When they
anniversary date.
step.
Okay. But it's a 5% pay
They step up,
increase.
when you step on a salary, you step up 5%.
Councilor Huddle.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, John Huddle, County Council. I've been observing the proceedings, and Tom Huxley mentioned Captain Espinosa. I actually thought the question was put to Captain Espinosa whether their proposed budget, without any further anticipated or included the anticipated salary changes from the negotiations, and I thought his answer was in the affirmative.
Absolutely.
And it should be fairly easy to confirm that. So I think the direct question was put to him, and he said yes. So I think that's in here, but I would think that should be easy to confirm.
Mrs. Colstrom.
I think we also discussed it in a meeting when the payroll clerk, Julie Swift, was here. She confirmed that when she put in the payroll budgets in each one of the worksheets, that she did do the steps and that they are in there. So
That's just want to be absolutely sure.
I mean, that's
Okay.
what she said.
Oh, pardon me,
So
Sheriff, you
we
might
have
have
an
to.
affirmative from the sheriff.
Those step increases are budgeted in already through the payroll sheets.
Okay.
So just in case that didn't show up, the sheriff just said that the step increases were budgeted in through the payroll sheets.
Thank you. Comments?
Okay, that's all my
All right, so how are we going to deal with this? Do we want, I'm hearing,
We have
Talk.
Captain Espinosa just entered the room as well.
I'm hearing,
Yay. Anyway.
I don't see any bugs around here. We kind of, so I'm hearing comments of working capital and.
You never do, Mr. Chair.
You
You
don't
never
see
see
them,
them.
huh?
No.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Carl.
does the budget officer have prepared motions that we need to read and adopt to
Well,
recommend this
Our
budget?
deliberation.
I had very little time this morning to finish getting everything ready. I think I remember what the motion's supposed to sound like from local budget law, and I think I've said it several times that you could do it off of the 2 handout sheets this morning, which is approve the budget for the general fund in the amount of $7,868,499. Approve the budgets in all other funds of 57,000 or 49,309 $309,138. And then you also approve the tax rate of 0.5993 per thousand for assessed value, and that's what you would move. And when you do that, then then you're finished. You approve the budget.
Is it .5996?
Or
Is it-
993, 996.
Yeah,
I
So
have to look
question,
it
would
up.
we
Might be
need two
worthy to
different
take a
motions?
quick recess.
All right.
Louise, would a quick recess help?
Yeah, I mean, I think if I could look it up, I just want to look up to see. I used to have the statement to read on my my personal little thing because I had it from the school district, but my little personal thing, computers don't like it anymore, so I can't get the information off of that like I used to be able to do. So I would have to go look up the local budget law and see if it has a
Well,
sample statement.
we can also look at what we did at the last budget.
Yeah.
So
This one or no?
I don't know if it's in that one. I think it's in the big one.
we'll have it on record in the county records from last
Yeah.
year.
And I used to just type it up and then you would read it.
Yeah, that's what I thought we would have. But I want to go back to Commissioner Huxley's requests, and I don't think we've fully dealt with those, or have we, to your satisfaction?
Well, I'm taking, again, just from the comments from the members of the committee that, and the budget officer, and I understand there are other ways to do it, okay? That we'll just deal with that at that
So you're willing to move on then?
Yes.
From all those
I do
topics?
have one other comment, but it will probably, well, I have one other comment before, or after we take the break. We could take the, break now or whichever.
I'd rather not take a break if we can keep
Well,
going.
I think you needed to for,
I just need to look something up.
Okay.
Can you make your
Forgive me.
comment? Do you need Louise for your
no,
comment?
it's the board, the chairs, I
I-
can do that now or.
Carl?
I thought that our committee chairman suggested the way we would move forward today is we would do what we've done, we would then vote, and then each of us would have an opportunity to make closing
That would
comments.
work.
And
Sure,
so why don't we do that?
That'd work.
that's fine, sure.
All right, let's take a 10-minute break and
Okay.
then come back and deal with this. Thank you.
Good job. Let me go see if I can.
If yours is the next big idea, and you need the right place to fine-tune it, build it, launch it, if you're only your best when you can play more than you work, if inspiration comes from the outside, you belong in Curry County. The westernmost point of the land you love, and the edge between familiar and uncharted. Break the pattern. Be where the airports are as close as the beaches, and industry and recreation never cease to amaze. Dock, dive, and dine in a single day, and never lose your connection. This is the threshold of the West. Live where you can do you, and do it well, at the farthest point from ordinary. Curry County, living on the edge.
There's something about having land and sea. Never having to choose between digging in or looking out. Here, you can go where the spirit or the wind moves you. To the tops of the trees, along secluded beaches, or into more wild and scenic rivers than anywhere else in the western United States. We're the closest place to the sunset while still keeping your feet dry, and a destination where anyone can begin. We share more than we keep, so you can see more than you imagined. This is a place you have to touch, hold, and feel to believe. The entire shoreline of the West Coast's best coast is open to you, and playgrounds made of forests are waiting for you. Escape to Curry County and don't leave anything out.
Roadway departure fatalities are a serious and often preventable problem in the United States. The Federal Highway Administration reports that 54% of all highway fatalities are caused by drivers leaving their lane of travel. The Oregon Department of Transportation is taking a proactive approach to reduce this kind of tragedy by implementing a centerline and shoulder rumble strip program.
Rumble strips are one of the most low-cost, cost-effective countermeasures that we can apply across the system.
Rumble strips are grooved patterns on the roadway that make a rumbling sound and a physical vibration, immediately warning inattentive drivers that they're leaving their driving lane. Rumble strips allow drivers to self-correct and avoid an accident.
About 67% of fatal crashes in Oregon are road departure crashes, which are a vehicle can leave the lane to the right and hit a ditch or a rock or a tree, something like that, or cross over the center line to the left and get in a head-on collision or a sideswipe meeting type crash.
Over an 8-year period, ODOT engineers studied segments of 16 different highways and concluded that rumble strips are highly effective at reducing lane departures.
We did a before and after crash analysis to find that we have reduced head-on fatalities by 40% with the installation of centerline rumble strips.
We've been trying to find a way to deal with a problem that seems to be increasing over the last 10 or 15 years with our drivers, and that's distracted driving. And there's a lot of things that cause distracted driving. All these distractions are things that make people take their attention away from where it should be.
Comparisons between other available safety features like guardrail and concrete barriers show that shoulder and centerline rumble strips are the most cost-effective safety treatment available.
We're finding that those are very effective in trying to make sure that when you do make that mistake, it's not the last mistake you make. They help bring your attention back to the driving task and bring you back to where you should be, focusing on being in the middle of your lane and being safe.
ODOT makes a conscious effort to use a bike-friendly rumble strip design where possible and installs 12-foot bike gaps every 48 feet of rumble strip. ODOT understands that rumble strips create a noise that can be disruptive for people who live near rural highways, and we're trying to address these concerns with different approaches.
For the noise, we're looking at some new designs. We're hoping that the new design rumble strip will be just as effective at saving people from making an error and much quieter, on the order of 10 times as quiet. And we are actually going to be installing our first full set of these style of rumble strips along 205 this summer.
So we recognize that noise is a concern, but one of the things I like to tell people is whenever you hear the sound of a rumble strip, it could be the sound of the life being saved of one of your loved ones.
Rumble strips are proven to save lives. The Oregon Department of Transportation is taking the lead in implementing the sound of safety.
I love walking. It's what I do. So who better to share some tips to help keep your walk safe? Wait for the signal. Take in the sights and smells till you get the go-ahead to cross. Use intersections to cross, but when you can't, remember your training. Always look left, right, left. Show you want to cross and wait for all lanes of traffic to stop. And make eye contact so you know the driver sees you. Hi there. Good human. You get a treat when we get home.
Sign that doesn't have a rider on it, so we take our first step at this posted speed limit of 35 miles
Weeks
per
in
hour.
Harleyville are seeing more than their share of curvy roads these days. Their job is to drive every stretch of highway in Region 1 several times. All this driving back and forth.
The old limits were set back in the 1930s and 40s and were changed very little until just recently. So now our limits are taking into account newer vehicles, a little bit more aggressive driving style, and so those limits are going up.
And going up in a big way. This is Eric Leeming, a traffic devices engineer with ODOT. He's driving an ordinary car with some extraordinary tech on board, a GPS device that records data as he maneuvers every curve in the road. Back at his office, Eric can upload the data recorded in the car, and special software determines exactly the right speed for every curve, every time. Most speeds will increase by 5 to 10 miles per hour, but in some special cases, it's much higher.
The state has a deadline of 2019 from the Federal Highway Administration, but with 8,000 miles of roads to investigate and potentially
Whether we leave the 750 in working capital, move it down to 735. Put the 15 in plus same. So just
It's me. I'm just saying, you need to be able to balance it. There's
Yeah.
a way to balance it.
And that's done in what
It's-
as we say, you can,
Well, I wouldn't answer to go through every day of life,
Okay, we're back on after the break, so I'll turn it back to the chair, and it's
Yeah, we're kind of waiting though for
11:47. So I would just caution, because we are back now on the air.
There, okay.
So no frivolous conversation.
So we have a quorum, but let's, if it's okay, just sit and wait
Okay.
for the, unless somebody has something they want to say, wait for the guidance we're gonna need for the wording. And it's strictly defined, that wording. what has to be included in it as to approving and appropriations and then the tax rate or tax dollar amount has to be approved. Until they get here, anybody want to talk? There's no reason why we can't now do, if you want, the comments we would do at the end.
Other
I'd like
than
to
we
say
don't
something.
have, John Jesuit here either typing on the minutes that he's been trying to keep up with what's been going on, so I'd say for that reason
Probably wait.
to wait.
I know for sure you're gonna get Jimmy pulling this up.
What I want to say. And I want to say is, I thank you all for respecting the position of the chair. I thank you all for giving me help and putting up with a novice in this position. And I think it's okay to feel really good about what we've accomplished. And I just hope that those who think that, or stated, that they just wanted one more year of road funds will understand that the calendar's going now. So we've got that year. Next year, I hope whatever they're able to do gets done. And I think I've said and made it known that I'm willing to work with them. So that, plus thank you all. That's what I would say if we're going to go polling each commissioner. Can we go on to you though now?
Okay, so what I found out during our break. Okay, so I looked at the local budget manual. It just says that the budget committee approves the budget. I've always done it in the amount of, so that's what I feel most comfortable with. And then you also have to approve the tax rate of whatever per thousand. So I typed up the move, so whoever wants to make the,
Let's just make it easy.
you want to do it? Okay.
I move to approve the 2017-18 budget for Curry County in the amount of $7,868,400. Oops, let's try again. $7,868,499 for the general fund, and $49,309,138 for all other funds, and to approve the property tax rate of 0.5996 per $1,000 of assessed valuation.
Second.
Carl King seconds. Discussion? Carl, were you going to?
No, I'll make comments afterwards. I'd rather just vote.
All right.
And then I thought after we vote, each of us can make comments.
Anybody else? All right, let's do a roll call vote. Mr. Jesuit, please.
Okay. Chair Brand,
Yes, affirmative.
Committee Member Scaffold,
No.
Committee Member King,
Yes.
Committee Member Boyce,
No.
Committee Member Huxley,
Yes.
Committee Member Gold,
Yes.
carried 5-1.
No, no.
Scaffo and Boyce were nays.
I'm sorry.
We corrected it, no worries.
I'm ready to, yeah, good.
All right, so if that's the formal stuff we have to do, then why don't we just give each of us a chance, or y'all a chance to talk about what you think we've done right or wrong, and what can be done, look forward to next year at the next process. Carl, you want to start?
I'd like to start. I think my comments fall into three categories of things that I think we've accomplished. On bookkeeping, if you will, we have a budget that is more transparent and actually reflects reality as opposed to steps taken merely to balance the budget. On franchise fees, which has been a bug of mine for years, we got halfway there. We got the charter cable franchise fee into the general fund, and next year we'll get the solid waste completely into the general fund. But I think if we're going to
I think it already is.
properly, not the solid waste, it still pays part of Mr. Huddle's salary.
Oh, okay.
I think we need to do that, and I think in these transfers back and forth of allocating administrative things, I think that needs to be looked at by the Board of Commissioners as to why. I think historically things have been done. Louise discovered different percentages that had on paper no rational reason and equalize things, and I think the Board of Commissioners between now and the next budget need to look and see if there's a way to fine tune that. I'm not saying you do anything other than across the board percentages based upon payroll or space, but it needs to be looked at. I think on internal controls, which has been something I've complained about in the past, the fact that we now have the grants in separate funds provides greater internal control. I think, again, our budget officer mentioned that in her prior dealings, a purchase order system was used for spending the money as opposed to invoices being submitted for payment. I think that needs to be done. I know that Oregon local budget law gives great leeway in moving money around, and and you've mentioned that you've done 6 supplemental budgets. Some of those are because of unanticipated costs, but some of them are simply because budgets have been overspent without any care or reason. Not this year maybe, but in the past year. You have a form that has been used where the county accountant signs it certifying that there is an appropriation to pay that expense. I have seen those forms signed after the line item to which they are charged has been totally exhausted or started at zero. I think you need to have better internal controls so that the money does get spent the way this budget committee recommends and you as a Board of Commissioners ultimately vote. I think there are things we didn't touch that are going to have to be dealt with next year. We have taken the carry forward down to the minimum. We know we're going to have expenses that will come up in the future that we don't have room for. I think there are things that need to be looked at outside the budget process in the next year. Each year that I've participated, we have found reserves that we could cut. You could say raid, but reduce. We're running out of those. There are very few left. I think that takes leadership from the Board of Commissioners to do that. This year, we have continued dealing with the cost of assessing real estate as we have for a long, long time, knowing that we're not spending enough money, apparently, to do the job that needs to be done. We've had the assessor and others talk about trying to cause special districts to pay for the assessing costs. People have put legislation before in Salem and gone up and testified. I've talked to special districts who say, well, we'd be willing to share that, but no one's ever asked. And our assessor sat here and said, well, no one's come and offered. Well, somebody has to take the lead. And I look to this Board of Commissioners, and I know Commissioner Boyce has talked about somebody has to make that happen. Somebody has to go out and talk to those special districts that are willing to share the cost of assessing because they know there'll be payback year in and year out.
Right.
And make it happen. That bill has not had a vote. It's went through committee in April and it's sitting there, and I assume this late in May, it's probably not going to get a vote. I don't know and I don't care. We should be doing that here within the county by agreement. I think we need to look at rearranging the treasurer tax collector positions and maybe consider putting them back under the same office. Those were separated at a time due to a specific incident. We need to study those. I think that's a way of doing it. And that, again, is something the Board of Commissioners ought to do outside the budget process between now and next year. Same with days off, whether we need a furlough. I think that needs to be studied. But I think what the taxpayers have to understand is that we made it this year. We can't make it next year. That I understand there'll be a levy on the ballot next May to help fund law enforcement. And I will I will be sitting here next year, God willing. And I will not put back in the rest of the county all of the dollars that levy takes out of the general fund to fund the sheriff's office. We've made hard decisions, but they're the right decisions for the county going forward. And I intend next year to sit here and not move backwards and increase expenditures where we've found the means of cutting them. And I thank Mr. Brand for his leadership. It's been good to sit here this year. Thank you.
Commissioner Boyce?
We have less than 15 minutes to get you out here on time, so I would like to just take 1-2 minutes max. Mr. King, if you could write that down for me, I'd love to read it again, and then
Well, it's on.
go. I'll record it then. Thank you. I'm sad that we're going to lose our county accountant. I voted against her pay raise 3 months ago, and it was on principle, not on any lack of confidence in her. And I'm sorry. I'm not sorry for that decision, but we're going to be looking for a code enforcement officer. We're going to be looking for a budget officer. We're going to be looking for county administrator. I think that's an opportunity for this board to come together better, those positions. And so I'll remain, as I've said in the past, resolute to keep my pledge to the voters in doing everything possible to make this a team effort, and I don't have any options on that. Thank you, all three of you, again, very much for 8 days of 8-9 hours. I'm just, I hope I can speak for almost all of the citizens in sending that gratitude. Thank you, Mr. Chair, and County Council, and John, and fellow commissioners, and I hope we have a going away party for you. Not too soon. Thank you.
Commissioner Gold?
I'll be brief as always. I think there's been some hard decisions made here. There's been some sacrifices made by many people, including the departments. And I think it needed to be done. And especially at the top, we need to send a message that we're willing to sacrifice. And Louise, I think you've done a great job and pushed forward, and wish you well in your new job. And as far as special districts, I do have a contact with Brookings Harbor School District Superintendent, so that's the biggest chunk of money. So I'll be talking to him about that.
Sam?
Yes, thank you. Okay, just the way I see it, just in summary, we had $320,000 baked into the proposed budget transferred from the road reserve fund, and then we created a $121,000 requirement in the commissioner's office. So for a total of $440,000 that we had to come up with, and the way we did it was taking 60 from self-insurance, 127 from unemployment, 40 from other materials and service out of 100 that was there, 9 from the airport, 33 by Forco and some IT upgrades, and the remainder on the Board of Commissioners office. Now, we didn't find anything major in any of the departments, and that should be expected. They've been operating under an era of austerity for quite some time, and they've rated their budgets as far as they can go without dramatic reductions in services, which they've already taken some. So that's not something that's likely going to be found in the future. And then, they also are reducing their materials and services, which is usually, it sounds happy at first, but generally it's a sign that you're cannibalizing materials and services to get the payroll straight, and that's only going to go so far. There was no major purchases in the vehicle area this year. When that pops up, it's going to be hard to deal with. But anyway, I don't want to paint too nasty of a picture. But I want to get back to the Board of Commissioners office. It's the part of this budget that I have a hard time with. I mentioned earlier, I don't think I'm too strongly wording it. I personally believe it's a circumvention of the democratic process. I think that the Board of Commissioners has every right to hire something in the administrative line, but any swap over of executive authority is, I believe, counter to what a general law is, and would require a charter. For example, you're going to have this thing to deal with. You're going to have several elected officials that run departments, apparently, and I wasn't at the board meeting yesterday, but you could have several elected officials or the department heads reporting to a non-elected person that makes more money than them. So whether by word or just by that effect, you can't avoid the notion that executive power is being transferred to a different. And so it's unfortunate for me. I've never voted against the budget, and I've sat on many of them here and other places. Generally, I've always been able to not. There's been times where I didn't like everything about it, but it was close enough to make a compromise. But on that last point, I unfortunately am not going to be able to get on board with this one. But I do appreciate the hard work that everybody's put in. I know this is not easy, and thank you very much.
Commissioner Huxley?
I thought we'd leave the last comments to the chair, but I think that to go over, I think it's been you've done a great job chairing this committee, and to my knowledge, this was, and I don't even remember, it may have been county council and just a general conversation, or it may have been, I don't remember, it's not that important, but that we got to the point where we were setting I think a precedent in that the budget committee would be chaired hopefully in future years also by members of the public versus I think what had typically been of commissioners. I think that worked well. I think one other suggestion that I would really encourage for next year and every year after then, because there is time in the calendar to do this, is to pursue the suggestion that was made in one of these Department of Revenue documents, in that after the budget message is read, the first formal meeting of the budget committee, then there be 1 week, approximately 1 week, where the budget committee, before the budget committee meets again, that they have an opportunity to thoroughly, individually review that document. I think it would, this was good, I think it would make it that much better. But not to come in the same morning as the meeting, and here's the document. This is the way it's been ever since I've seen it here. Here it is, let's go, having not seen it before. There had been certainly, news articles, and we'd heard about, all sorts of doom and gloom, 30% cuts, according to certainly local newspapers, or, in the south end of the county. That did occur, and as a matter of fact, even the chair was referenced as making some of those statements, that they'd already made a 30% pay cuts in their budget to fill the revenue shortfall. I think we've certainly addressed the fact that that did not occur. What I went through just to see what still opportunities there were, not for this year necessarily, but possibly for next, okay? In that the table of contents, went through both the table of contents for the 2016-17 and the 17-18, and through those budgets, proposed budgets, draft budgets, and approved budgets before each department, or major department certainly, or significant, I don't want to say significant, each department, there will be staffing levels, and it shows it there. So it's easy to go back and check and see what was done, year over year. And with the exception, I believe, of in the road patrol, there were 2 fewer road deputies, but they had not been hired, so they opted, I presume, to go back and reduce those 2 for the future budget. It wasn't that they were there and anybody needed to be laid off. In the commissioner's office or the support staff, there was there were 2 staff members, but one position had, through attrition or whatever, not been replaced, and therefore it wasn't shown in the next budget. So it wasn't like somebody come July 1 was going to lose their job there. We learned to do, I think, better with less. So I think there's still a lot of potential there. I think for the future, for this coming year, in consolidation and adjustments to the current organizational chart that could result in significant savings yet for the following budget year. That's clearly time will tell. But I think the administrator/manager position that hopefully in another couple weeks will be approved after the second reading will help toward that end for the future. But I think it's been a very, very thorough seven or 8 days, whatever it's been now. And I don't think anything's been unlooked, or stones not uncovered. I think it's been very, very well done. Thank you.
Anybody else? Everybody had a chance? Cool. Thank you. I'm sorry? Oh.
Did we do that in one fell swoop? Okay.
Apparently so, and so that's it. Gotta find something to do here for a while. Thank you all.
Thank you, Tom. So it's 12:12, is that correct? So the meeting is adjourned at 12:12.
I will see. Well, I will see you guys next year. That's my last year.